Hello guys, and welcome back to the Anonymous7 Videos channel. This is the first review type video that I'm going to be doing on the channel. In this video I'm going to be going through the 5 out of 6 episodes of Friday Night Dinner from Series 6 that have currently aired, give my views on each episode, and then at the end I'll give an overall verdict on whether this may be the last series of the show. As I did already state though, the last episode has not aired yet, so when that does air next Friday, I will give a review on that in a separate video. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this video. So as you see, I already typed it into the search bar. Just need to, well, click on it and wait for that to load. Okay, that's very useful. That's incredibly useful. Oh, great. Okay, so now my Wi-Fi. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about this. I always get really bad Wi-Fi connection on my computer. It's cut out for a brief minute. But anyway. Okay, so I want to find a list of the episodes. So I'm just going to click for the Wikipedia episode list. Going down to Series 6. So, on the screen are going to be reviews of, well, not reviews, but a synopsis of what happens in each episode. You can, and I'm not saying you have to, but if you haven't seen the show, it is like a comedy based around a Jewish family that go eat dinner at their parents' house every single Friday night. If you haven't seen the series, then read the episode synopsis. Okay, sorry, I said synopsis. I meant description. Read the episode description if you haven't seen the series. So the first episode of series number 6. So series 6 was in 2020. We're going to go back. Series 5 was in 2018. So we've gone about almost 2 years without Friday Night Dinner. It got announced in 2019 that a new series was coming, with a trailer being released in around sometime in the early stages of 2020. Like I think it was like January, February time. Then, as it says here, began broadcasting on 27th of March 2020. So first episode was the caravan, which we'd obviously seen the trailer for, of Martin coming out. Martin is obviously the dad character, coming out of the caravan. So overall opinions on the episode was, I don't think it was a very strong episode, mainly because Wilson, who was the neighbour Jim's dog, had died, that doesn't make sense, had died in the previous episode, which was episode 6 of series 5. Jim had a new dog called Milson that was a crossbreed between a Great Dane and a Poodle. And okay, I've lost my internet connection again, but it's fine. Anyway, so that was Jim's new dog, and he keeps calling it Wilson, but anyway, he has to think of a new name. He thinks the new name of Milson, which apparently is different from Wilson. Also, Martin has a caravan. He's trying to get Jackie to eat in. It ends up with him stealing the chicken that they were going to eat for their dinner, and basically putting the chicken inside having the chicken inside the caravan, where it gets stolen back by the boys. Also in the episode, both the boys have girlfriends at the same time, which has never happened before. Both also called Lucy. So, my reviews on the episode. I didn't think it was a very good episode. Judging by what we've seen in other episodes, I think this episode, to be honest, was a weaker one. No offense to the writer. He does a great job, but I'm just saying that I think it was a slightly weaker episode to the others in the previous series. It didn't have as many jokes. The jokes they did have had been reused a lot, and it have been. Hang on, if I go up to the top, all the way to the top. Series 1 was from 2011. 9 years later, they were pretty much using the same jokes. Which was, well, obviously bad. From a writing standpoint, because if you're using the same jokes over and over again, people are going to get tired of the jokes. No offence to them again, but still. Anyway, my personal opinions on the episode was... the only good bit of the episode I found was to be the ending point, which is when a sign that Martin put up in it catches fire, and it crashes. Well, basically, the caravan collapses into the house, then catches fire. The best part was right at the end, when that happens. Then it cuts to the ending title, which after watching the episode, I thought I did like it, but at the same time I didn't like it, if that makes sense. No, again, no offense to Robert Popper, but anyway. That is my review point on episode 1 of series 6. Next episode is episode 2, the plastic bag. Martin is obsessed with trying to move a plastic bag from a nearby tree, so obviously you again read the description, which is which is this bit that I just highlighted. Basically, when they got there, he was trying to get a bag out of a tree with some stuff. Then later on in the episode, Johnny, who's the younger son, was wearing a spaceman jacket. Gets put in the tree as opposed to the plastic bag being in the tree. Other stuff happens where Adam, who's the older son, he had an interview in a magazine. He didn't mention his mum, but he did mention his mum's best friend, who they call his auntie. Anyway, that was just a brief thing of what happened. What I found to be most disappointing in this episode was stuff I mentioned for the previous episode, was the fact of all the jokes, like the lack of jokes, and also in this episode it just lacks something that would have made it better. I don't know what the thing it lacked was. Possibly it's the fact that we're used to them by now. This series isn't funny. We've had this show has had funny episodes, like for example Mr. Morris episodes, where the grandma brings home an old man who's her boyfriend. It doesn't really compare to those anymore. No offense to them, I still think it's great. I just think that the jokes are being reused quite a lot. For example, the dad saying shit on it whenever something happens. Whilst it's funny, you can only hear it a certain amount of times and still laugh at it. Anyway, that's the second episode. That wasn't as in depth. The third episode, the au pair. This was, believe it or not, the first episode that I actually liked of the series. This follows Gibby, who is a Swiss woman, who was the boy's au pair when Adam was 4 and Johnny was a baby, so that's how I found out there was a 4-year difference between them. Anyway, she turns up at the house, and the boys get there, and Jackie is like, it's Gibby, and then they don't remember who Gibby is, so Gibby goes into the toilet and starts crying, at which point Jackie tells them off for not remembering her. She comes out, so they pretend they remember her. Then Martin asks if they remembered her, and then she runs off starting crying again. Later on in the episode, Jim develops a crush on her. She develops a crush on Jim. Then they go to a hotel that Gibby used to go to have a cream tea, because Gibby really loved cream teas. She didn't enjoy it as much, so then she runs into the toilet crying. Jim makes her come out. Then Jackie and Martin decide they can't survive anymore with her, because she was staying for 5 nights. So they run off into a hotel. Jim, who we found out earlier in the episode is scared of wolves. Gibby and Jim are dancing. Like, Gibby says, "Are they gone?" to Adam and Johnny, and then Johnny, well, not Johnny, but like Jim. No, sorry, Jim comes out of the living room. Says, "Do you want to do some more erotic dancing?" Gibby says, "We have the upstairs to ourselves. Do you want to have some fun?" Then we all know what that means. And at which point she then starts taking off her layers. When she gets to her t-shirt, has a giant wolf on it, which causes Jim to run out of the door because he's obviously scared of wolves. Then the episode ends. I found this episode funny because there were certain funny moments. For example, when Martin bumps into his school friend, and again, as I'm saying, if you have no idea, read this bit. Martin bumps into a school friend called Neville, but he says that, but he thinks he's called Bradley, and then they don't remember the mischief they got up to, and then Neville has like half an arm. Well, he's missing an arm. Martin doesn't remember that was how they were like at school, so apparently they used to slash the teachers' cars' tyres together, so then when Martin comes out of the hotel, his tyres are slashed, which was one of the funny moments. I found this episode to be better than the last two because it didn't rely on the same jokes. There was something new because Gibby obviously had Gibby was there and she was emotionally unstable, and you had Jim's crush on her and her crush on Jim. And all round, I found it was a better episode than the others. That's my opinion now, and just to be clear, this entire video is my opinion. If you don't have the same opinion as me, that's absolutely fine. Anyway, episode number 4 is Dad's birthday. So, right, Adam is running. So when they arrive, Adam's running to the house as he's practicing for a quarter marathon. It's Dad's birthday, and he's unhappy because he read an article online that calculates people's death, and he calculated his death, Jackie's death, the boy's death, and his mother's death. This bit comes into play later, and again, read this bit. He's kind of sad because he won't be able to go to Mars in 2050. At which point he's people get annoyed with him. So after that, they eat dinner. Well, actually, Martin's mother, who's called Horrible Grandma because she hates loads of people, in a previous episode in her brother's funeral, she had come round and she had broken a cabinet and had broken some other stuff. And in this episode, she came round and, well, basically, despite being told not to by Jackie, she still came round. So then when she's there, Jackie refuses to eat with her and makes Martin eat with her whilst her and the boys eat in the kitchen. After that, she spills red wine on the chairs, and then it all comes out that well, she hates the boys. She can't remember their names. She hates Jackie. She hates Martin because he married Jackie. She hates the family, calling it a crap family. Then Jackie says that they all hate her. And she said, "Okay, very well, I'll stay here." Then Jim comes round. He's doing magic, and he basically says to the Goodman family, I'm going to make your mother disappear." And he says, "I'll say the magic words." The magic words like how I can't remember what they are. His last trick is to make her disappear, as it says in this sentence. Like all other tricks, it does not work, but she suffers such a massive heart attack that she died suddenly. So basically, she died from Jim's magic. A really funny line that I think I shouldn't have found funny, but I did, was when Jim said, "I sort of did, mate. In a way, I sort of made her disappear." I found that incredibly funny. But then Martin briefly cries, and then he laughs very loudly before the episode ends. I thought this was quite a funny episode as well, mainly because I don't want to sound too mortal, but it featured a death in it, and also it had quite a lot of good features that made it an all-round very good episode. Okay, last episode I'm going to be reviewing, because obviously there isn't a description for the females, which is airing on the 1st of May. Anyway, the cage. So the boys get home and they discover Val's only there because Mum was having a woman's procedure in the hospital. The funny bit is, Adam, Johnny, and Jim all ask her if it was above or below. Anyway, her and Martin were there, and around like 2 minutes into the episode, she gets back. But anyway, Val's cooking instead. The boys were initially upset at this, and then they found out that there was lamb, so they got quite happy. Val is distracted by Tinder because she joined Tinder because in the previous thing her husband had left her. And again, I should really stop saying this, but yeah. Anyway, this man that she'd been stalking for months on Tinder had agreed to pick her up at a certain time. So then she forced everybody to eat dinner really quickly. Then it got changed multiple times. So there was a work thing, and then there wasn't. Till eventually, Jim had bought a cage for. Well, he said it was for Milson, which is his dog. And he bought the cage round, and he said, "Can I assemble it in your living room for testing purposes?" So he did it. Also, Martin had some duct tape, and it wasn't duct tape. It was like industrial strength tape, and Johnny used it to tape Adam's phone to a toilet. So then Adam used it to tape Johnny's phone. I can't remember. I think it was to the roof. And then Jackie used it to tape Val's phone to the inside of the cage which Jim had built whilst Jim was away getting Milson. So she was in that. Jackie shuts the door and locks it, but then they can't get the door unlocked, and then the handle rips off the door. At which point, Val thinks they did it deliberately. At which point Jackie's saying no, it wasn't deliberate, when it obviously was. Then the Tinder date arrives, and instead of being like, no, go away, Val literally tells Jackie to let him in, and then they sit, and then obviously they're having a date in there. As Jim gets there, he's there with Milson. He's now there with Milson whilst they're on the date, and Jim insists on trying the case, so he goes in there and the episode ends. I personally think this episode was like, it was a middle. It wasn't as bad as the caravan or the plastic bag, but it wasn't as good as Dad's Birthday or the au pair. I have a neutral feeling about this episode, so I don't really have that much to say about it. There were some good parts, like the bit where Jim asked if it was above or below. That was for me though one of the only good parts. Okay, next part I'm doing now is, obviously I'm going to release a separate video ranking the females. I'm going to be reviewing the entire series 6 as a whole and giving my views. So, the entire series 6, it started off with 2 episodes that weren't that good. Then it had 2 episodes that were quite good. Now it's had a neutral episode in my opinion. So, to be honest, I think if the final episode is really good, then they should be able to have another series of it. Bearing in mind it has nearly been running for 10 years, which is quite a long time. But Channel 4, which is where it airs, it might bring it back anyway, regardless of how it does, because it's a really big show. And I personally, I hope it comes back, but I hope the writing doesn't get as poor as it has done in the recent couple episodes. Well, I say in the first couple episodes of the series. Okay, so now I'm going to be ranking each of the 5 episodes out of 10. 10 being amazing, 1 being terrible. The Caravan is going to be ranked 5, which means it's in the middle. Plastic Bag is going to be ranked 3 out of 10, which means that I didn't really enjoy it that much. The Au Pair is going to be ranked 7 out of 10. Dad's Birthday is going to be ranked 8 out of 10. The Cage is going to be ranked 6 out of 10. Also, if you just want an idea of how the before I finish the video, I just want to give you an idea of how much this is, of how much people found this series a letdown. The first episode brought in viewing of 4.63 million viewers. That was because Obviously, as I said, it had been 2 years since we had the series. Obviously, that was sort of a letdown, so the next episode brought in a viewing of 4.01 million viewers, which is almost under 4 million. And bear in mind, it had gone down by 0.62 million viewers in a week. And again, it had gone down by 0.10 million viewers in another week for the au pair, and then obviously Dad's birthday and the kids don't have one yet. Anyway, that's been my review on the current series of Friday Night Dinner. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe to the Anonymous 7 video channel. Follow my Twitch channel at Anonymous 7 Gaming, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.